So from the days of the so-called nuclear revolution to today, when California decides to shutter its last nuclear power plant, what has changed? I put that question to Jack Edlow. He's president of the Edlow International Company. Among other jobs, it manages international shipments of radioactive materials.
You know, this is quite interesting because I think it has a lot to do with politics. Although California is going to close Diablo Canyon, although not until 2025, so we still have nearly another 10 years of those two reactors operating. California still buys a lot of nuclear power from out of state. The Palo Verde station in Arizona is 27% owned by California utilities, and that's the largest nuclear power station in the United States. So they may be stopping it in California, but they're still bringing it in.
So what does it mean for California? It's one of the largest states in the U.S. To no longer rely on nuclear power. What is happening there?
You know, the state legislature passed a mandate that said you'd have to go up to 50% of renewable power by a certain year. I think it was 2035. But in the end, they don't count carbon-free nuclear as renewable. They only count wind and solar and to some extent geothermal as renewables. This to me is unfair. But that's what the state legislature decided to do, and the utility cut a deal, frankly, that they'll close the nukes in exchange for building more wind and solar and some financial arrangements.
Is that a trend that we're going to see around the world?
No, certainly not around the world. Certainly not around the world. There are many, many, many nuclear power plants being built in other countries, especially China. China builds at least one a month now. Starts and begins to operate one a month. India is building, Vietnam's building, the Emirates are building. Sweden recently announced they're replacing their nuclear power plants with new nuclear power plants. England is building, Finland's building, South Africa is likely to build 9,000 megawatts of nuclear power. China announced recently they're going to build a nuclear power plant in Argentina. So I think nuclear power around the world continues to grow.
Today we see the rapid rise of things like solar power. By the year 2030, it's expected solar power will be cheaper than electricity generated by fossil fuels. Do you agree with that? And how does that impact nuclear power?
Probably not all fossil fuels. It might be cheaper than coal because coal has many restrictions being imposed on it. In the United States, I can't imagine it's going to be cheaper than gas because natural gas is so cheap right now and there's such an abundance of it that that's what's driving coal and to some extent nuclear out of certain markets because gas price is so low. So solar is making big improvements, there's no doubt about it, but it is also very heavily subsidized because there are credits given to people who put solar up on their homes or in big solar power stations. So it's cheaper if it's subsidized, but not in all cases will it be cheaper. And also remember, the sun's only out half the day.